Hello, this is Curt Pringle with Curt Pringle and Associates, and we have this podcast known as Talking Issues, where we really talk about public policy issues that affect us in California and Southern California and in our individual cities. So I welcome you to watch. And today I wanted to introduce someone new to our firm, but not necessarily new to Orange County, Antonia Castro-Graham, known as Tony around this place. So welcome, Tony. Tony is an expert on city issues, on issues within the community, and she's will share with you kind of her perspective working for a couple key cities in this county, with a focus on power and sustainability issues. So, Tony, why don't you introduce yourself? Even though I did, but go ahead.
Thank you, Curt. Happy to be here chatting about issues. I have spent the last 20 years working in local government. I spent about 6 years working for the city of Huntington Beach, really managing their energy and sustainability initiatives. I'm also an adjunct professor at Cal State Fullerton and really teaching the next generation of public servants about public policy, sustainability, and public administration.
Yeah, I see those as two of the big issues moving forward for local government. I mean, on the state government side, and even some of the discussion on the federal side is really around sustainability, not only business or individuals, but certainly government, as well as some of the focus on, different ways to provide and distribute power in our communities. So, you bring such a great skill set in that area, but you stopped your resume. You didn't finish by talking about Fullerton or the Orange County Power Authority. So I want to make sure you do that.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I would be remiss to miss those two things. I was the assistant city manager in the city of Fullerton, where we embarked on really an ambitious plan to sort of modernize the city's infrastructure. The city council there was very forward thinking. We issued a request for proposal to do an energy efficiency and retrofit and really investing in renewable energy in the city. And they awarded a contract to Noresco, and I think they're projected to save almost $20 million over the next few years by implementing a lot of these really forward-thinking energy efficiency and renewable energy projects. But another interesting thing that I got to oversee in Fullerton was a project called Sci-Fi, and it's a fiber to the premises, really bringing fiber throughout the whole entire city, even in really like lower income, low socioeconomic neighborhoods, so that everyone has access to high-speed internet, which is a great economic development tool for the city. And then, going way back to 2015, I created a working group of cities in Orange County to really study this concept of community choice aggregation. And community choice aggregation really encompasses what I like to talk about, the 3 E's of sustainability: the environment, the economy, and the people, or sort of the equity side. And so cities got together, we started studying this. We each did feasibility studies with a company that had kind of come through Orange County and helped us learn more about community choice aggregation, or community choice energy as it's called. And in 2019, I was asked to come be, I'm sorry, I'm losing my years here. In 2020, I was asked to come and be the chief operating officer of the Orange County Power Authority.
Yeah, see, most of us forget
2020. I forget 2020.
Anyway, I mean, it all was a blur for most of us. But, first off, community choice aggregation is really when cities step up a greater role, or any entity, in terms of where they're buying their power from, instead of necessarily the old model, which is investor-owned utilities. In this area is Edison, or Southern California, or San Diego Gas and Electric, or like in Anaheim, it's the Anaheim Public Utility, a city-owned utility. But community choice aggregation, or what you were focused on, came about in 1996 when energy was deregulated here. So customers had choices where they could go to buy their power, not necessarily from the utility itself.
Right. And after that deregulation, a bill was passed in the legislature that allowed joint power authorities to form to create these CCAs. And we see Marin Clean Energy, passing the 10-year mark now, being the first CCA.
So tell me what that does
Sure.
in Anaheim, or in Orange County, where
Sure.
you had, 4 cities?
4 cities initially joined: Huntington Beach, Fullerton, Irvine, and the city of Buena Park. And Irvine really led the effort. Kudos to the Irvine City Council for really being forward thinking and really putting the money to start this whole endeavor up. Community choice energy, or aggregation, really enables these cities to go out into the market and to buy power, renewable power. And accelerate the transition to 100% renewable faster than what the state's pushing for 100% renewable by 2045, and it allows more renewable to get into the market. And so these four cities have all decided, well, three of them have decided to move towards 100% renewable as sort of their default product, and then Fullerton is a little higher than the state's required renewable portfolio standard. So they're all exceeding the state's goals. Really forward-thinking city councils here, really wanting to offer choice to their residents.
And in that regard, choice for a purpose. So those cities
Right.
wanted to focus on a higher percentage of power coming to their city that was renewable power, which is not required by state law, but those cities chose that as an option because they have a greater commitment in some regards to ensure that, even though it might come with a greater price tag.
Absolutely. And I think when you take away the cost consideration, community choice, aggregators, really well-run ones, especially we see in Northern California, these established CCAs, they offer something that the investor-owned utilities just don't offer, and that's customized programs. So not only do your customers have choice, but you now have these programs that are really geared towards, you might have a manufacturing sector, or you might have a really robust energy efficiency or EV charging program that you want to launch. So each city can tailor their own program, and that could be even towards their municipal needs.
Right. So I mean that is a great skill set of or basis of knowledge that you bring to our team here, and really it's kind of where the direction is going, right? I mean, when you talk about sustainability and power choices and those types of things, they're all the same component. I mean, right today, are cities required to transition to electric vehicles, for example, or where is the state requiring cities to take action?
There's really no mandate per se on cities to reduce their greenhouse gases. Governor Schwarzenegger signed into law in 2006, Assembly Bill 32, and that really started the impetus for really moving towards reducing greenhouse gases in the state of California. Out of that scoping plan came so many different bills out of the legislature over the last, the subsequent years to reduce different sectors' greenhouse gases. And a really large focus has been on trash. And so I think that's what really comes home for cities is how do you reduce greenhouse gases through trash collection? So we've seen the state mandatory commercial recycling with AB 341, and now with SB 1383, which is really a problem for cities.
So you jump right into that. I mean, Tony is certainly skilled and knowledgeable in the area of trash. We won't make any further references in that regard, but we talk about a lot of assembly bills, and I think that just races over people's heads. So this SB 1383, which is really amazing, and I think every single person, every business in Orange County is being faced by this, and they may not know exactly what it does, but it says you can't put food waste in your trash can or mixed with other trash. So, how many commercial buildings, be they apartment buildings or office buildings or mixed use buildings like this one is, that has one trash can and you throw the bag of trash and everything is mixed together. In future, that's not allowed, or even presently that might not be allowed.
Correct. Right.
Yeah.
I
Explain how that works for a small business person who's going to eventually get a notice and be told how they dispose of their food byproducts.
Right. So this is a clear example of, the legislature passing a bill and passing it onto a regulatory agency, in this case, CalRecycle, and not working with other regulatory agencies to find out places where you can take this waste. So there's very few processing facilities. So unfortunately for the haulers and for cities, they were really late to roll out their education. And so if you're a restaurant in a commercial strip mall and you now are forced to train your employees to separate the food waste from napkins or from your packaging in the back of the house. You have to really spend time to sort this trash, and there's been not a lot of education out there. So for a business, you're now tasked with separating your food waste, finding a container for it to go into. Hopefully the trash company has come around and done some sort of education, or the city. And it can become very onerous for the city, because
so who is going to be responsible? Who gets penalized?
the city.
The city. So if people, so the state has enforcement officers that'll come and find out if there's food waste in this commercial trash can, and at some point in time, that the city is going to have the hammer come down on.
So Cal Recycle will have enforcement officers, but for the most part, they're really going to rely on cities to have their own code enforcement officers. So code enforcement officers are already tasked with doing so many other things, whether it's sober living homes or graffiti or inoperable vehicles, whatever it is. Code enforcement officers now also have to check and see that you are of a food waste bin,
Wow.
and that then they're working closely, hopefully, with your trash hauler to figure out, are they putting it in the right bin? Because SB 1383 required that every single city have the same color coding in their trash cans. So, some cities might have had green waste as a green can, but some cities had the green can as a recycling can. Now they all have to be streamlined.
Nice.
So not only do
So
you have
everybody's,
that,
who's going to pay for that?
right,
Obviously, the person, the business,
right, the trash hauler
homeowner.
is going to pass the cost down to the
Right.
business owner.
So this reminds me of way back in the '90s during my legislative life. There was a senator by the name of Byron Shear, and he passed the first bill, SB 9.
AB 939.
AB 939, that basically said that you had to reduce by 25% or 30% the waste stream. And so the requirement was put into law, but really how you get there was left up to the individual trash haulers, but kind of with the city monitoring it. If you didn't do it, the city got a fine. And when they started fining cities, the fine was $10,000 a day because they went over that. They didn't meet that reduction requirement. I mean, to me, I kind of see that as the same thing that's going to happen. They may have a soft opening, so to speak, on this program, but eventually the hammer's going to come down on it.
Agreed. And I think, there's no mandate for cities to reduce a certain percentage of greenhouse gases, but the California Air Resources Board and Cal Recycle and the state legislature is going after cities through trash as a mechanism to reduce greenhouse gases in the landfills by telling cities and their trash haulers, you need to divert this waste, find another place to take it. But there's not a lot of places to take it. Whether it's anaerobic digestion or there's, new technologies out there that turn trash into hydrogen, so there's, it sort of defeats the purpose because you're putting your food waste in a truck that now is traveling great lengths to go to an anaerobic digestion facility. So, this law really puts the onus on cities on, a lot of reporting requirements, a lot of education. Cities even have to pass their own procurement ordinances that they will buy a percentage of recycled content, recycled organic content. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting bill.
Yes, exactly. But that all falls into this. What are cities going to do with power and power generation? How do they serve their residents and businesses within the city? Sustainability. I mean, a number of cities and a lot of the major government entities in Orange County are working on sustainability plans, which basically talk about how they're going to use power in the future. So what's going on in that space for local government?
So, as you know, there's 8 required elements in a general plan, and some cities are adding on additional elements and doing a sustainability element or sustainability plan as a complement to their general plan, really setting the stage for what they want to do, whether it's involving waste or energy.
Yeah, so let's pause on that. So, general plan of a city, many people know what that is, but some people don't. And that's basically saying the land use of the city in parcel by parcel will be this over the next 8 to 40 years. The transportation element will be this over the next 8 to 40 years. And many of us know what's going on with the housing element, which means this is what's happening in every city in California has to apply for a new housing element to the state. And this is what's happening in our city to address housing needs for the next 8 to 40 years. So you're saying there's some cities are voluntarily addressing some of the sustainability elements of how they operate and how businesses and residents within their city will have to operate over the next 8 to 40 years.
Right. And the cities are calling it all different things, whether it's a climate action plan, a sustainability plan. In Huntington Beach, we did a greenhouse gas reduction plan as part of our general plan update. But these sustainability plans are very diverse in that they don't just look at the environmental impacts of our, of our actions, whether it's residential, commercial, or municipal operations. They're looking at, like I mentioned, these 3 E's of sustainability: the environment, the economy, and sort of the people side. And so you're seeing cities study not only sort of the tangible things that you can measure, like reduction of greenhouse gases, reduction of waste, reduction of kilowatt hours, whatever it is, but they're also talking about, did they increase their open space? Did they increase their affordable housing? They're looking at all these different sort of sectors of sustainability, a very holistic view of
And
sustainability.
do all of them include the sustainability discussion of the economy within their cities in terms of bringing in businesses that will be able to support the community?
I think that's a big thing, that when people talk about sustainability, they have this notion that it's only about the environment. And sustainability is really very multifaceted. You can't have a city that is investing a lot of their general fund revenues in these sustainability projects if they don't have sales tax revenue coming in to fund these.
Right.
So you need to have an economy that works for everyone. It needs to have an economic side. So, whether it is incentivizing businesses to use recycled content in their manufacturing process, or having a sustainable business certification program, or just revamping your economic development tools to attract and retain businesses. But it has to be multifaceted.
Well, that's so much information, and I'm really glad to be able to introduce Tony to all of our friends at Curt Pringle and Associates, to you. A lot of stuff is happening in this space, and a lot of it not only affects us as business people or residents, but government's going to have to adapt to a lot of those issues. And that is one of the important things, to have someone within our team that understands that and how to take those next steps. So thank you very much for watching today, and hope you look for future installments of Talking Issues here at Curt Pringle and Associates.